Look at all these people that came to see us commissioners. Maybe there's another reason. All right, I'll call to order. We have an agenda in front of us. I'll hear a motion to approve it, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed. We have been shown the minutes from June 3rd. If there's no revisions to it, I'll hear a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
First, second, all in favor? Aye. None opposed. All right, we had an administrative approval. Is there any discussion on that administrative approval? Hearing none, we will jump into our public hearings. Case number 455, COA requested by the Land Shark, Jared Foster, for exterior addition and fencing for property located at 430 South Lamar Boulevard, known as the former Abner's Building.
Thank you. The applicant seeks approval for several changes to the existing buildings and the site. Properties 430 South Lamar Boulevards, formerly Abner's Chicken, and it's listed as a non-contributing resource in the Courthouse Square District. As noted in the design guidelines, development within historic districts must be especially sensitive to issues of compatibility, existing relationships between structures and between structures in their setting. Any new construction must meet the new construction design objectives. Number one, they should preserve the integrity of the districts. Number two, they should ensure that new construction and the additions strengthen and maintain the historic integrity of individual buildings and of the area at large. And then lastly, they should encourage new development that will respect and enhance the visual character of the district. So the proposed plans described below with relevant references to the design guidelines and staff's comments. As y'all will remember from the complimentary review, the applicant's proposing to provide for new bathrooms. And so this is an expansion of the northeastern portion of the building that currently houses bathrooms to add some additional bathroom space. The new design, which features a brick veneer and some metal siding, it is compatible with the existing structure, and it is simply an extension of the existing building. The design is appropriate and approval based on the recommendations of the design guidelines. The applicant's also proposing to replace the existing storefront with a new garage door. So right at the it faces out towards the intersection of South Lamar and University Avenue, there's that storefront. The design guidelines recommend that if an existing storefront needs replacement, it's acceptable to install a contemporary treatment that respects both the character of the historic building and is compatible with the streetscape. And while this is a contemporary building, the garage door proposed is not a typical treatment. However, due to the nature of the existing building, the commission may deem that the garage door is acceptable. The applicant's also proposing to install fencing. The proposed fencing is simple in style, and it is appropriate in the material for the Courthouse Square District, where iron and metal fencing is commonly used. There's an area designated for food truck parking. The provided site plan indicates an area designated for food truck parking. The elevations and rendering just reflect this portion of the site as turfed area. The applicant does not speak to how it's planned to be used. The site plan also indicates that the area is to be fenced, but it's unclear exactly how a food truck will access it or what are some of the elements associated with it. So that might be something that the commission would want to discuss. I do also note that it kind of looks like there's a different style of fencing there based on the site plan. It's difficult to tell. I don't know if that is suggesting that there's a gate there, so that might be something that you want to inquire of the applicant, at least to provide some additional information, and that might require some additional approvals from other commissions. The application also plans to install turf, 2 bars, a stage, cover tables, and tables with umbrellas. These elements of the proposed design, they do veer into territory that is not explicitly covered in the design guidelines, other than the context of new construction that was previously discussed. Staff believes that the best reference for the commission in evaluating these areas is through the shared space guidelines, where we use these for areas around the square where businesses lease property. They offer some guidance for these types of items within the context of the Courthouse Square District. The proposal indicates that the site will be covered with artificial turf over existing asphalt parking lot. The application did not include any specific information related to the type of artificial turf, and the commission may desire additional information regarding what they intend to propose. In prior conversations with staff, the applicant did state that sound associated with the business would be minimal and that the intent was to have individual speakers. I think we kind of took it to be maybe like Bluetooth style speakers at tables, because there's a suggestion that you might be able to pick or choose the type of music that could be played at each table, but nonetheless it was supposed to be minimal. The proposal now does indicate a stage in the southeast corner of the site, presumably for live entertainment. Live music and entertainment and outdoor venues have caused a great deal of concern in the historic district due to its proximity to the residential neighborhoods. Staff does have concerns with this element of the proposal, and given its proximity to the residential areas, including a hotel, we do recommend against this element. Umbrellas are the preferred covering and must be free of advertisements and of one solid coloring according to the shared space guidelines. Covered picnic tables like those shown are not preferred, especially because they are more permanent. Such items have not been approved previously in the Courthouse Square district. There are two proposed bars, one directly in front of the existing storefront and one attached to the bathroom addition. Both are simple in style. The commission may consider if the covering over the larger bar in front of the existing storefront is appropriate. The applicant may consider an umbrella or less substantive covering to better comply with the recommendations of the shared space guidelines. Also of concern to staff is the number of location of the proposed televisions. The commission may consider if the number and the location of the televisions are acceptable due to the proximity to University Avenue and South Lamar Boulevard. Businesses in the Courthouse Square, when evaluated using the shared space guidelines, they're limited to one television, which is 60 inches or less, and are to be located in an area where they're minimally visible. And the proposed televisions are particularly concerning due to the proximity to the streets, which may be distracting and create safety concerns. The commission may consider discussing ways to make the television minimally visible from the right-of-way via screening or its placement. Staff recommends approval of the COA proposal except for the proposed covered tables and cabanas, the stage, and the number of proposed locations and the quantity of televisions. And we do include 3 conditions for your consideration here. Applicants here. Tom.
I wanted to just touch real quick, Tom, you can come on up, but just for the gallery, just touch on how process will go. So those of you who have not been through this before, we've had the staff introduce the project. We'll have the applicant be able to come up and speak to us about their proposal, fill in any information they feel is lacking or needs to be cleaned up from what staff has told us. The commission at this point may start into a dialogue with applicant, questions to staff, to applicant. When we feel that that has somewhat played out or is calming down, at that point we're gonna open the podium to concerned citizens to come up and speak, at which point we may also enter into a dialogue with questions and comments with you. When we feel that has all died down, then we would move towards a vote. So first is applicant, discussion, and then open it up to members of the public to come speak. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Tom Howarth, architect for the Jared Foster and Landshark, and the name of this new business is now proposed to be the Velvet Ditch, a seafood and bar instead of Landshark, because it's intended to be a little higher end than the other venue. We don't want confusion about branding. So are we going to put this on the screen, or should we?
Yes, sir. I can. I was trying to do. Just give me 1 minute, Tom.
Okay.
Excuse me, could you speak up a little bit louder?
Sure. Can you hear me now? So our COA, I was a little confused when we made our submission this time about what we were applying for. I didn't appreciate that COA was required for the temporary phase. I knew that it needed to be reviewed and approved, but I thought that approval would be at the staff level, not at the COA level. And we submitted a revision to the scheme that you all saw before of the permanent solution for complimentary review And now we've got the temporary one up for a COA. As Ben said, the permanent construction is the restrooms, a change to the 45-degree facing storefront section, which we intend to replace with a garage door section. But the garage door we propose to use is not the overhead type door that you've seen before that goes up, excuse me, goes up in a track and is probably like the ones you have in your own garage, where it turns horizontal and parallel to the ceiling. This one is a stacking unit. So instead of the leaves, the horizontal leaves of the door being hinged together, they actually come apart and it stacks into a vertical pocket at the head of the door. That way it doesn't interfere with the mechanical, electrical, or sprinkler system overhead, and it gives you a much cleaner opening, and it doesn't look like you're entering into a garage. The other things, we showed picnic-style tables in the permanent scheme. The tables that we're showing under the cabana elements are really not picnic-style. They're four-legged tables, which could be folded up and moved. So that's what we had proposed, and our plan in proposing the cabanas in lieu of the umbrellas, particularly around the perimeter, is precisely because they anchor into the substrate below, the concrete below. They're anchored with expansion bolts so that they're much less susceptible to blowing away. They would have to disintegrate in order to become airborne. Unlike, for instance, my backyard umbrella yesterday, when that storm came through, it went airborne, and if we didn't have a mature landscape, it would have been, wreaking havoc through the neighborhood. I think that these cabana elements are a safer alternative to the single pole umbrellas, and that's why we proposed them. They do afford a little more area, and I think we showed you some cut sheets of the types of cabanas that we might propose. So, while I agree with city planners, with Ben's recommendation that the applicable sort of aesthetic standard is the sort of shared space standards, because this looks like a shared space, but in all honesty and with regard to property rights of which we're all concerned, this is not public space that a private businessman is wanting to occupy to make money. This is private space that a businessman wants to occupy to make money. Nonetheless, that said, we do want to we do want to be neighborly. We don't want this to look different, substantively different from the other outdoor dining spaces that have developed in Oxford, which we think are a real positive. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. I may not have addressed all of your concerns. But, I agree that the televisions, their visibility from the street is a challenging issue. That's another reason that we like the cabanas, and would really like to work with the city planning office to figure out what sort of screens. The cabanas provide an opportunity to screen the TVs from the public view in a way, and also to separate private from public in terms of, for the benefit of both. So you don't have an opportunity to develop drop-down awnings or screens on a standalone tent. Happy to answer any more questions or...
I want to jump in real quick if I can, and I'll let Commission run. I do want to touch on, for the gallery and for us and for you all, we have two cases tonight. We have the first case, which presumably is going to work its way towards a vote if it gets to that point, and that is what we're looking at on the screen here, which is an extension of the restroom portion, and then what appears to be, not substantially built-in structures and spaces. And then we have a complimentary review, which is not going to make its way towards a vote tonight. It's just them kind of feeling us out, which is the much more substantial roof structure that I think everybody has seen. We've heard Tom talk about temporary nature of this, and so now this is to Tom and you all, the applicant. We're reviewing this as permanent. You can use temporary as much as you want, but to us, we know installations that have been temporary within our square that have been there for 6 years now. So from our perspective and from the city's perspective, we have to consider this as permanent because it could very well become permanent. So even the tents, they're anchored down, even the non-anchored structures, we would be, if we go to a vote, whether it's for denial or for approval, it is going to be for a permanent installation of this that we're looking at. Just wanted to clean that up. Okay. So, discussion from Commission for applicant.
Just my first question was, what you passed out that he sent, is this replacing something?
Well, in the comments, Ben observed that the black cabanas were not acceptable.
The ones that were flat?
The ones that are shown as flat.
Okay.
Yeah. Our idea with those is that they make the ones that have louvers that you can retract and open. They're not as watertight as that one. But the reality is, I don't, that looks more permanent than the other cabanas. Certainly because it's got a roof that sheds water to the eave, and it's twice as large as the ones that we had in the drawing that we submitted to you, which would let you put, a pair of tables under one instead of a single table under one. But we would submit that, if we could, that this would work much better for our client if we can get the city to go along with it. Now, I'm happy to, let y'all tell us we can't do that one, or tell us if we can convince the city planner that we can use it, that we can do that too.
And we would have a decision to make for ourselves as a commission if we feel like on the fly, do we feel like we could, in our minds, substitute this for what's being shown in the actual application as well.
Yeah, well, we were trying to respond to that. Did you send them, did you include two, did you hand out two? You did. Yeah. So the other one is a more realistic version. This one shows fabric, one of the advantages being that we could match the fabric to the structure. Of course, most of them do that either way, whether they're the vane type louver structures or whether they're the curved awning type.
Okay.
Tom, help me understand a couple of things. I do want you for this to be a successful business. I do think you certainly want to have the ability to start making money. But the concept of umbrellas has worked well at St. Leo's, Oliver, Proud Larry's. All three of those immediately come to mind. I don't understand why we're so wed to these cabanas. Can you tell me that? Can you tell me your reasoning or your owner's reasoning?
Yeah, our reasoning is that you can get a larger party under them, and that in my opinion, less likely to create a nuisance in the city.
Would you agree with me that they work well in those other places?
They have worked well. I'm not sure exactly how all of them are anchored. I mean, the ones that we did at St. Leo are in fact anchored to the sidewalk. So
If you want to speak, yeah, come on up to the microphone, state.
Guys, thanks for your time today too. So great question. The first thing you started with was success. That's why we're all.
Yeah, come on up to the microphone, please.
For the record, tell everybody.
Hey guys, Jared, thanks for your time here today. Can everybody hear me? Awesome. So you said success. That's the reason we're all here is we, one, want the location to be successful, not a nuisance, and we want to make sure that it doesn't interchange between businesses every year. So we don't rehab these meetings and we have a successful location that obviously adds great a further income into Oxford as well. You know, the parking spots, for example, taxes, you know, those parking spots that you guys allowed us to get rid of, those parking spots are now paying taxes. You have 350 people approved on a property that are going to be spending money, but those people's safety is more important than anything. And that comes with them backing out of that parking lot on a Saturday night when cars come through the red light. My consumers that would consume alcohol and food would be backing up into traffic, so we eliminated the parking with hopes that our location would be an Uber-friendly location and a safe ride home. Saying that about success with the tents and cabanas, we edged the property with a heavier cabana in this second picture for one, the safety of the consumer and the success of the business. How are you successful on a rainy Saturday if the first 5 home games, 4 of them are home, and 75% of my property is not covered, there's no roof? Well, St. Leo's and Funky's have nobody on those patios on rainy days. They're all inside. That makes up less than 2% of their total property, maybe 5% at Funky's. At our location, those cabanas at least allow us to stay successful enough to pay the bills, which is what kept a lot of companies from coming into Abner's. When Abner sat down and looked at what's going to be successful and what do I put here, we weren't his only option. He had plenty. It came down to, one, an owner is going to be running the business, and 2, the model of the business. For us, this is temporary. For you, it's definitely permanent because you have to view it that way because, as you said, things float into permanent time spaces. I look at it as permanent right now because if this first 6 months doesn't make us the money we need, I signed a 1-year lease at Abner's. The $400,000 to $500,000 that I'm spending to make this location work on 12 months is the biggest risk I possibly could have taken. But the beauty is I know it's going to work, and I know that the Landshark customers that we have will support the same exact menu that we have. So the safety and the success run together. And if we get 4 rainy Saturdays or 1 rainy Saturday, and we can't comfort those people that book the reservations for those cabanas, because you can't take a reservation on a possibly rainy Saturday if you don't have a roof over their head. So this keeps our business in the green by covering another 15% of our property and keeps the customer safe.
Is there any dining inside?
There is. We actually have tables inside for, it'll feel like a Funky's feel inside because the buildings are shaped the same, except we actually have more table space when it comes to total seating that we plan to sit in our place. I had a William come by that works with the fire department. He came by, he looked at my occupancy, he said, you'll have 99 people in here. He said, with the garage door open, it runs to 1 space, you'll fit to 365 to 450 people. We'll see how many tables you put down first. We're not interested in 400 people shoulder to shoulder. We're interested in a community space that the square doesn't have for outdoor besides Harrison's. Harrison's a younger college community, which works great for them. But for us, we're trying to give away from the beaten path, away from the library feel of all the college kids. My dad, a paraplegic that, you know, has a hard time getting around town. This is a great location for him to be able to come sit at a table, book a cabana with his friends. There's only 8 of them, technically 4 if we go with the larger structure. When we want to separate it, we'll follow your rope method. We'll use a velvet rope, velvet ditch. We'll use a velvet rope to separate the 2 sections. Communities gather together, sit under a space. They don't have to holler over hip hop music, and they're able to communicate, get 5-star food, 5-star customer service, and it not be a full-blown sports hip hop corner. It's going to be a laid back community feel with quiet speakers at the table. and able to communicate with people, and more of a chill space is the goal for this outdoor area. Once we get a roof over the building, that would obviously help with all these concerns of success, the safety of the customer, but that can't happen this quick in 60 days. Yes, I'm already paying the rent on Abner's. To be transparent, I'll throw it out there. $12,500 I spent this month. $12,500 I'm spending next month. I've already spent $35,000 to get into the location. So for us to be successful, this football season needs to have some permanent structure roofing for me to be able to keep people on the property.
Okay,
I'd
thank you.
like to ask you a
Yes,
question.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think you're, have good ideas.
Yes, ma'am.
I think, though, I'm concerned a little bit, and I don't know if you've investigated this.
Okay.
South Lamar, University Avenue traffic is so thick.
Yes, ma'am.
And so heavy,
Yes.
especially during football games that you're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
What have you done? Because there is no space there when it's heavy traffic. I mean, it's right up to your property.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of cars.
Yes, ma'am.
And you talk about safety. I don't know. I am concerned about the cars and the nearness of the cars to your property.
Perfect, and that's actually the reason we eliminated the parking. So whenever you look at that corner over the past 10 years, luckily somehow we haven't had a major wreck or hazard in that parking lot. Zero wrecks or hazard in that parking lot besides fender bender on a customer bumping into another customer. By eliminating the parking, putting the fence around it, the 4-month window that we're aiming for here, because our goal is December 15th. Well, all of our goal would be for Ole Miss to hold a playoff. That would be the goal. That's what we're looking for, is football to have playoff here. If so, it may back up our roof build out a little bit into January.
But do you have a sidewalk in front of your property?
We do, yes. ma'am.
Okay, so that sidewalk is right near where cars are coming,
Yes, ma'am,
right?
it
And
is.
there's going to be traffic going to your business.
We have zero.
And there will be a lot of people right there with all those cars. It's just my concern of safety that way, not what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's right on top of cars
So
where the sidewalk is.
that's no problem, and I appreciate your concern on that, because I agree. Every customer that comes on our property and everybody that's not on the way to Abner's needs to be safe. I actually had considered the idea, I spoke to Ben and them about this, originally was the idea, since that was a parking lot, I'm gonna picture this right here, ma'am, is gonna be Abner's for a second, okay? Our fence runs here. As of now, there's no fence. For the past 20 years, cars have been in those parking spots backing out into your main street with cars going 25 miles an hour through a red light. And the hazard of that customer has been between a moving car and a backing up car. We eliminate all risk towards those roads, and
I
none of...
guess that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm not talking about that. I understand that. I just say that if they're walking they parked at the parking deck,
Okay. Yes,
and
ma'am.
they want to go eat at your restaurant,
Yes, ma'am.
they're going to go down South Lamar, and they're
Correct.
going to follow the sidewalk.
Yes, ma'am.
And pretty soon they're going to be neck and neck to a car. I mean, it's going to be right there on that corner. It's just so congested. It just seems like that it might be a problem.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I would present to you that this is not a new corner, and this is a much safer corner than it has been for the past 20 years with this build out. That would be my presentation and my view of it. I think that by us actually not having any cars moving towards customers in both directions, we eliminate the safety by over 50%, because there's no cars moving towards the moving traffic. That would be the only thing I would say. I can't imagine any business that goes here that doesn't have the same amount of traffic walking down that sidewalk. You would have to block that corner to keep...
It's just a busy intersection.
Oh, it is,
It's a
for
very
sure.
busy intersection.
Yes, ma'am.
For the patrons arriving from the route you described, coming down Lamar from the square, the entrance is at the nearest corner that they get to. So we don't anticipate that they will be the people walking down that sidewalk. Now, that doesn't eliminate the concern altogether.
Our entrance is by Mr. Bailey's building, the Anchorage building. It's actually further back. So the same structure that if you looked across the street at Oliver, the same amount of people that are walking to that red light, Oliver has that same sidewalk right there at the corner. We're presenting the same exact build out as Oliver. They've got an outdoor area, and people go to that corner, and also including the customers that are not ours.
So no one is going to be really walking around. They will go in at
Yes, ma'am. Our
Bailey's.
customers are inside the fence line. Our customers are not outside.
I'm not talking, well, I know, but I mean,
The entries will be
people
on
that
the
are,
sides.
yeah, on the sides only.
Yes, ma'am. Our entrance is right by the Anchorage building. It's the corner of the Anchorage building, right where that entrance is on the back left corner.
And the other thing is
That's the exit.
you know, the concern, the most congested part of that sidewalk potentially is the corner,
Yes.
the corner itself. In the scheme that we presented last month, we had set back 7.5 feet from that corner along the diagonal. And now, since then, we've set back an additional 2.5 feet. So we're now 10 feet back of, that's additional public circulation space, sidewalk space.
What will, sorry to interrupt you, what will be the walking surface of that triangle and that setback you're talking about?
I would anticipate that would be concrete.
Okay.
Yeah, it's asphalt now, and then you've got concrete there. I mean,
So you'd be extending the sidewalk then to create, let's say, pedestrian refuge in that triangle?
Yeah,
You would
we're also
basically be-
we're showing a bench for seating right there. I'm not sure, I don't think anybody will want to sit there and whittle like they used to on the square. But some people might want to sit down and take a break,
So, but
get up their nerve to cross the street.
I just have a quick question. So you've got indoor dining and then you've got your kitchen inside.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the food truck for? Is that a food truck of things that y'all are selling?
No problem. So with Land Shark, we do crawfish, right? In the city of Oxford, you can't actually have half lane indoors. So no
Half what?
half lane. So when I say half lane,
half lane,
So,
okay.
yeah. So like for example, when I boil crawfish, it gets so hot even in this outdoor area, right? Well, in Oxford, luckily you guys and I have 7 locations for seafood, and I deal with this in every city. It's impossible in a tight space to run that much flame, one, without the risk of propane in the same room, with fryers in the same room. So Oxford, William, and them have us actually boil outside. So for example, Gregory's, when they were doing the drive-thru, they boiled outside. All the crawfish trailers you see, they boil outside. Well, Land Shark, we boil outside as well behind Chick-fil-A. All the major heat is actually done outside. So in that area, if you see to the left there, we were gonna run a black fence. That way it keeps the customer away. Same way we do at Land Shark, we have a black fence right there that separates it with a mesh area. And then when we run that fence right there, the food truck pulling into that parking spot allows us to not have people going indoors to have to get the food. We can still serve the food straight to the straight to the turf right there. And it also allows people, instead of forcing traffic inside, since we only have a 99 person capacity indoors, but we have a 250 outside, we are able to then serve food to those 250 people outdoors without overpacking our inside of our building for a fire hazard.
What you say your inside capacity was?
It's 99.
And what outside?
Outside, we're looking at around 250 right now, which we won't have 250 because I'm not gonna have it shoulder to shoulder. With those tables, my goal is space. My goal is for you to wanna sit at that table. Hey, we're gonna book this table from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. so that you don't have to rush out of the game to go figure out where you're gonna be. We're gonna be booking the tables by the hour instead of just by reservation.
Okay, so the food truck, would it be fair to say that's gonna be a fairly permanent parking spot for the food truck?
The food truck on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, yes.
Where is it going otherwise?
It goes back to my lot at 1901 Jackson Avenue.
So it's not stored there, it's there when it's cooking and serving?
It's there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, yes sir, peak hours. During the day, we're not gonna operate for lunch. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm not going to be trying to force people to sit outside in the blazing heat. When you guys take your lunch break, the last thing you do is go find a 98-degree place to sit outside and sweat about it. So our goal is to be able to provide 5-star seafood on the square, and then during that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday peak, that's when we plan on the truck being there.
Got it. So 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., quitting time, closing time, food truck is moving somewhere else.
Yes.
It's not staying there till the next morning when you open back.
No, the food truck is actually so it's one of our pull behind trailers, and luckily it's the nicest one we have. It's a $60,000 rig that looks like a food truck, 32 feet. 26 feet. That 26-foot trailer pulls behind my truck, so I'll be able to pull right up, take it, and pull it out.
Okay.
And that way, it's super simple. And that's what you guys voiced earlier on the left side of the fence. You were talking about the different structure of the fencing. You were asking about, will that be different material? The material for that fence will be the same exact fencing, or it'll be a velvet rope that locks to the fence that we just move out of the way, back the truck out, and pull off.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
What do you envision for the stage?
Well, you know, we talked about that earlier, actually. Me and Sam, which is our genius that does all the 3D rendering stuff here that I don't understand how he does. That stage for us is really, you know, during the day you might have your acoustic guitar guy or your Janis Joplin style music. We would like to bring some live chill music to the square, a solo artist sitting on the square. You know, I'll say stand-up comedy, maybe a public speaker, somebody that can stand there and speak. Give or take, I could always put another table right there for customers to sit right there and eat if they wanted to. It's a stage no bigger than that right there.
And I noticed, sorry, I want to follow up on this and then I'll let you go. The stage is not there in the complimentary review that we're going to be reviewing a little bit. So is that correct? So the stage is only for this phase, and then you think the stage is not there? Because you have a bar there, I believe, in this complimentary review for the full shebang, right?
Correct. So we actually even addressed in our meeting earlier today when we were speaking, I was speaking with Tom and Sam about the idea of that bar where you're looking at it right now. If you guys for some reason didn't want that stage right there, we're open to that. I have no problem with that stage being there because, guys, somebody that really wants to come play acoustic will sit on the turf. That stage doesn't have to be there. And if we needed to, we could always shift that bar to where that stage is. If you guys decided that's what y'all wanted, you said, Jared, you got to make this change. We don't want that stage right there. That's no problem. We can move that bar section back to where that stage is, and we can put 4 more tables for seating where that bar is at. I have no issue with that. Whatever you guys want in that situation, we're completely open to you guys on that. Okay. The stage is not a hard push.
All right.
What about the turf?
Well, the reason that we did the turf was because in 4 months, we're going to be coming in there, sadly for my expenses, we're going to have to come in, and all this is going to come up when you guys hopefully approve in 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, when you guys approve that structure that we'll see on the screen here in just a little bit. What'll happen is all that's got to come up. For us to be able to pull in with a bulldozer or pull in with anything that December 15th to January 15th time period, we're going to have to be able to pull that fence up, pull that turf up. So if I do any ground right now, besides, because right now it's a black asphalt with stripes, and we don't want that. That's tacky right now. We leave that down, and guess what it's going to be? It's going to be really hot. It's black. So the amount of money that I'm going to spend on that section right there obviously is luckily outdoor material that I can use for all of my land shark models, from Hattiesburg to Ridgeland to Johnson City, Tennessee. I'm looking at this saying, hey, if this lasts into a year, luckily it looks great. If it's permanent for a year, however long it is till we get to the point of you guys allowing us to build what we need, turf is the cheapest, the safest, and the best water flow option for what we're going to do when it comes to pulling bulldozers back on that property. Because we can roll all that up, get to work for 4 months, and then we can take that and move it wherever we need to and reuse it for our business model. I can't reuse this hard ground I would put down that's going to then be ruined by a bulldozer in 4 months.
Right. On the, what I think, and I don't know if it falls, Stuart, you'll have to speak to what falls under our umbrella and what does not.
I will.
The biggest complaints or concerns we've had are noise,
Of course.
odor. There are no dumpsters. Where do you get rid of your things?
No problem.
Parking.
Yep.
Because I live in the neighborhood actually in South 11th Street, and those streets are very narrow. Mm-hmm. And on a football weekend, you can't even pass through.
Yes.
And a reason why. And but what is under our umbrella is this is a historic downtown square, and is this what we want our visitors to see when they're coming down South Lamar into our historic square?
Of course.
Those are my concerns.
Mine too.
And Stuart can speak to whether or not these items are.
I was going to touch on matters of scope and purview and what our charter is versus, let's say, planning commission staff. But I was going to wait until we feel like we're kind of petering out with you and before we bring members of the public up.
No problem. Do you want to list those real quick? I think you said one, it was view, parking, noise and odor.
Noise was the first one.
Okay, so noise for me, I won't get the clientele that we know we have to have to support a seafood outdoor local. That's the reason we named it the Velvet Ditch, is to support locals. The business, when you look up the Velvet Ditch, it literally pops up as Oxford, Mississippi's nickname. You know, so
when you see a stage on the rendering, mm-hmm. A stage says to us live music, yep. Loud.
Yep.
South Lamar's, for a long time, the east side of South Lamar you know, they can hear Harrison's bar.
Right, of
And-
course. Harrison's is loud.
It's
I do
very
all,
loud.
I do all the crawfish bowls for Griffin. I deal with that, and sadly, I've never been able to have an event space because we've been on a food truck since 2015. So what happens?
What we can even discuss.
Yeah, let me go ahead and jump in on that then.
Okay.
'Cause we are wading into waters that are not really.
I'll discuss the odor thing for you really quick. So you guys addressed us in the last meeting, or Ben and the rest of the crew, about the dumpsters are going to be removed. We all know they're not only a bad smell, they're a sore sight to the square because they get overflow, they're nasty, and trash is there. Those dumpsters are actually 100 yards behind us over our left shoulder, and that's where all our trash is gonna go. That dumpster receptacle is being moved off our property. We will not have the dumpster, the bugs. We also have already incorporated inside of our business budget that we will be paying for that travel of the trash to get to those dumpsters 100 yards behind the building, which I think is smart for the whole square. That's the odor situation that I can address.
Okay,
Stuart, could we put a bookmark on turf?
yes, we'll come back to turf, yes, because that is something we need to talk about. So this is for you all, this is for members of the public, and it's sometimes we all need to be reminded as a historic commission as well. So I'm going to touch on scope, purview, what it is that we're here to do. So matters of, the Historic Commission is here to review a proposed project for its appropriateness within the historic district. It's largely an aesthetic review that we're performing. So it's, does this building meet the guidelines by which we are to review a project for its appropriateness within the setting of a historic district? It's mostly about form, massing, appearance, materials. That's what we do as a historic commission. When we wade into waters like use, matters of zoning, noise, smells, parking, pedestrian safety, traffic engineering, stormwater. These are not things that we, as a historic commission, really use as our metric to decide if something is approvable or not. Now, we talk about them, we think about them, it's our city too. We want to hear from you all. I don't say this to silence anyone. Come up and say whatever it is you want to speak for the record. I think it's good that you do, because this will make its way to other boards. You also are going to have, I really say this to direct members of the public to the correct venue. You will have opportunity. This is going to go before Planning Commission, and that's where matters like everything I just listed out is really going to get hashed out. Most of what we are to do, not that we don't think about it, not that it's not, part of the conversation, but we have guidelines here that tell us how we are to review a project. And so Ben touched on the sort of overarching goals of preserving the integrity of the district, fitting within strengthening the historic integrity, encouraging new development that will respect and enhance visual character of the district. And then what he's showing here is really a checklist that we are to go through and say how, and there's a lot of text behind each of these A through L, how we feel that it fits. Does it work setback and lot coverage with the district? Does it work on orientation? Is it facing the street the way we feel it should? Scale, proportion, rhythm, massing, height, materials. You can see these are all matters of aesthetic, really. So I just wanted to touch on that's really what we're doing here. There will be other venues, and this will make its way to Planning Commission, I understand from staff, with a public hearing where a lot of that stuff can be talked about. Now again, come up and talk about it. Just know that at the end of the day, those are not really the metrics by which we are making a decision here. So, I feel like, did I cover everything? Okay. Anything else for applicant from the commission or for staff?
Yeah, I do want to know about, since we're putting a pin in the AstroTurf, how about the greenery around? Are we still proposing to have palm trees at the corner?
Yeah, we are. Those are there. I've tried to talk Jared into using stainless steel and fabricating things that look like palm trees, so he doesn't have to change them out every year, because they're not going to overwinter here unless he's got a very large greenhouse somewhere to put them in. But yes, that's the plan.
We spent a lot of time across the street, you may remember when you were on the commission, making sure there was not anything blocking that corner. I'm having a hard time understanding how those palm trees are not gonna block that corner right there.
Well, that's, as I pointed out, you know, we're now an additional 2.5 feet, so we're 10 feet back from the corner be it, you know, to provide clear visual access by there. There is nothing built out there beyond that, with the exception of the bench that we're showing there,
Appears to be, to me, Tom.
which faces outward. I mean, it's not a bench for patrons, it's a bench for the public.
I understand. I can't see through a palm tree though, and it seems to me that it's gonna be a lot of blockage right there. But that's just my personal opinion.
But those are set back.
I understand, but you got traffic that's equally set back when it's coming down the street. If I'm looking this way and I've got a TV going on and I've got people out in the middle and I've got a band and I've got a palm tree, where am I gonna be looking?
I'm also gonna chime in, just not on the vision through aspect, but on aesthetics. I do not feel like a palm tree personally is appropriate.
I'm open to, should I come over here?
Yeah, any speaking, come to the podium.
All right, so I'm open to other greenery. You know, when we did that, we didn't know exactly what material we would put in those areas. So for me, a palm tree was a sense of home. I grew up with them in my backyard, and my dad builds pools for a living, and he puts them around a lot of pools here in Oxford. So that's what we put up. If you don't want palm trees and you want to do some other kind of greenery, we can figure that out as a team. I'm not against that. I will say that if the permanent structure goes up, it's a lot more block in the corner than those palm trees are, though. So if you're going to approve a palm tree, then if you want to approve the palm tree because it's going to block it, and I'm not the guy that speaks on negativity, I try to stay positive, but I am going to be very transparent. If you're going to say no palm tree, then you got to turn my roof down. If you're going to say that it's going to block obstruction to scenery, then I'm not going to have a roof, because my roof's definitely going to block the view that you're speaking of. Just putting it out there as
That's kind of pushing all in there, isn't it?
I'm just being y'all's friend here, because like, you know, this is, I'm liable, you know, one day I'm liable to be sitting in a chair in the same boat. I want to make decisions for the city that make this look better, the safety of the customer, and I want it to be long-term. And guys, you know what it costs me to replace a palm tree? Every 4 months, much less 15 of them. It's expensive. So I'm open to not having palm trees, but I am going to have to say that if it's about the view and the safety of the customer, that building and that next view you guys see in the next video is going to be much more obstruction to the view than those palm trees will be.
Okay,
So we appreciate your honesty.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yep.
Now, I'm high maintenance, and when I say this, I
Yeah.
know it will cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can't support you in that.
Yeah.
But what about pavers or some other type of material instead of the turf? The turf really irks me, and the palm trees do. Sorry, no
It's okay.
disrespect.
No, it's
But-
okay.
And even like, I don't even know what to tell you to put there. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say a magnolia tree. So
Right, yeah. We're trying to add an outdoor greenery space. The reason we did that, because we looked at it like it was going to be 4 months. We believe that by December 15th, hopefully you guys will have already given us the approval for us to go ahead and do that. So I was kind of looking at it like, attention, outdoor greenery space, draw attention to the area, and in 4 months, there goes the roof. If the palm tree is something that keeps us from, I mean, imagine the palm tree not there. Imagine the greenery not there.
Okay.
Right now, it's a black parking lot, no greenery, that's fine. It doesn't add any greenery when the parking lot stays black. Financially, I don't know what I could do to the parking lot that's gonna be a 120-day smart expense besides the turf. I also did that based upon the safety of the customer too, you know, based upon when I'm standing on turf versus I'm standing on concrete out there. When it's raining, there's no roof. The turf obviously was put down for athletes moving at full speed. So I thought the turf was just safer for overall ankles, the people that are wearing heels coming from the football field, those types of things. That's the reason I presented the turf and the greenery. You're gonna save me $60,000 if you tell me no turf, no palm trees in 4 months.
So we've heard on palm trees, it's negotiable, concerns about site with vertical structures too close to the street, some just straight up pushback on the aesthetics of it, on palm trees and the turf. Anything else for applicant?
what's
What
going
is this?
underneath it? Oh, yeah, that too.
That really is for the next one. because that was-
Okay.
I haven't seen that.
Just a comment on the turf. I think as you move towards any type of direction that you're going towards, whether or not to make a motion or not, think you need to be pretty specific as to like what we're talking about approving from the turf standpoint. Right now it's just turf, but is that the stuff that you pick up like for that outdoor carpeting, or is it field turf like we see at we used to see at Hemingway Stadium? I know this has actually come up before, and I think it came up with the Chancellor's House, and there were a couple areas, and I don't know that the commission appreciated exactly what type. So, and y'all may not be prepared to have a type, and that's something that the commission has done before, come back with a material or for consideration of specific materials or options or whatever. That might be something that y'all want to consider, but I want to make sure that we button that element up, whatever it is.
My voice on that would say that the turf, I spoke to Griffin, okay? I used some of the resources that Griffin has used to do his outdoor area. I would be using the same turf Griffin would have from the same exact supplier. So that would be the answer for now. I would be using the same as Harrison's yard.
And then what's your plan for when the roof gets built?
When the roof gets built, the turf would come up. So then my expense with that turf would go to the Landshark location where, to be clear with you guys, I have the lease for till 2035 on 1901 Jackson Avenue behind the mustard seed, which is where our food truck was. So what you're seeing right here is a smart expense on my end, because my goal was to, we can only hold 80 people behind Chick-fil-A. I missed out on 35% of my business minimum this year because we needed 150 seats. That's why I did a 1-year lease over there. Everybody said, you're crazy, 1 year. I said, it's okay, we're branding. So what we did was that idea of this turf here, this expense here, could move to our 1901 Jackson Avenue, hidden off Jackson Avenue, back there over that, where we're at. So I would remove the turf, we would put a roof over it, and it would go to what you're gonna see in the future pictures, which would then be your obviously nicer style floor. It wouldn't be your black parking lot. But if I go ahead and do that now, the bulldozers are gonna crush it in 4 months.
Okay.
I have to say, I'm a little concerned about entering into the historic square area. It's very, very busy. Your business is very, very busy. There's lots of things going on. And we talked about aesthetics and how it flows into the historical square. There's nothing on the historical square quite like yours.
Well,
And I'm just concerned that it just looks so busy.
yes, ma'am, it does. If you were to join me anytime, I would love to take 10 minutes of your time, even outside of here, if you ever want to meet, to feel more comfortable about this. At Abner's, if you look across the street, we're doing exactly what the Chancellor House has done. The Chancellor's House, Oliver, my bad, didn't mean to call it that, Oliver, looks the exact same of what we're doing, except for ours is newer, and we're actually going to have loaded customers out there pushing an outdoor space. So it's going to look the exact same. There's a black fence, there's umbrellas, there's actually couches out there on their property where you can sit around, a little fire or a little bit of like a little water fountain. So we are actually building the exact same thing as Oliver, except for it's going to hold about 150 more people.
I don't see that with the Oliver, but I think they're a little bit more hidden or have a little more corner than you do. Yours is open. I just want you to be careful that it flows,
Yes,
because
ma'am. Of course.
Historically we're not quite that busy.
Understandably, I do understand that. I'm hoping that we can stay busy, because if not, you guys will be meeting somebody else in this room in 1.5 to 2 years with the rent and the expenses that are going to have to go into that location. I'm hoping we're busy, and I do appreciate the concern, but I pray that we're busy, and I hope that I can prove to you that it's worth being busy, and we'll keep it simple and safe.
And make no mistake, we want you to be successful.
Of course, it's your job.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
We do. And my family goes to the Jackson Avenue one all the time, so.
Awesome.
We want you to be successful.
We appreciate it. We're gonna add a few different things over there. We are adding some red meat options. Not that you guys need to know this in advance, but we will have a steak on the menu. We'll have seafood steak on the menu. Obviously, it's the corner that has had no business there for the past 12 months. It's empty. It's had a for rent sign, and it looks vacant. So when it comes to the overall look, I think personally this looks much better than what it looks like right now. And for the customers fenced in, I would like to think they're going to be safe inside that fence.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I guess my question to Tom is, and y'all have already said this, are you asking us to approve what you sent, or are we going on the one that you gave us a handout on the cabanas.
That's up to you guys. We really.
That's up to us to make that decision.
Yeah, I would suggest that you, if y'all approve cabanas in concept, then you let staff decide how to interpret what cabana you approve, or, or give them greater guidelines. Say, we don't want one with a
I was
pitched
just
roof.
wanting to be sure what,
The larger.
which one, if this was a replacement.
The larger
Or it could
cabana,
be.
yeah, it could be. We brought you
Okay.
options. One, because of the speed of us trying to get open in 55 days with a football season. We didn't want you guys to say, what's it going to look like? So we brought you options. I think the bigger one and the more expensive one, the one you're looking at on paper, looks better. I think it also does help with the TV views, because people sit at those cabanas. That roof at the one you're looking at actually raises up inside. So instead of so much TV view, you're able to actually put it up, and that way they can sit back and look down at it, and it's not presented to the street as much. Which one, I mean, by sitting there looking at it, which one do you think looks better? No? Neither?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, back to television.
Yes, ma'am.
There are too many, and they're facing South Lamar.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
they're facing University Avenue. There are too many.
Yeah, so televisions are one of those things that I touched on, that we don't get into use and the functioning of the business, and even you touched on menu. It's irrelevant to us. TVs are something that's the function of the business, but as soon as it starts throwing light out into the public sphere, it becomes aesthetic and it's part of our purview. So we do need to touch on TV as well. I'll go ahead and state my opinion is TVs need to face in.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's my.
That's no problem. I went around. Obviously, I went around to every property I could and looked, from Funky's that has a TV outside and the other bars, and tried to look at what they have.
I would be watching that if I was rounding the corner. I would be looking at what's going on the television. So I feel like if they're facing in.
And we as a commission are careful about light, right? We want to avoid the Vegas Strip. That's an extreme example, but lighted signs, anything flashing is prohibited.
Yeah.
A TV is certainly flashing. So that's, from my perspective, if this were to get an approval, I would insist on a condition that states all TVs are to face into the site. How you figure that out, I don't know. It may have to come back before us, because you may have to have structures that support them. But that would be a condition that I would personally, if I'm not telegraphing how I feel ultimately, but that would be, for me, a condition of approval.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. The TVs and the way that you see them right now was for us to be able to show you that ultimately we will have TVs and that you have your sports team outside. Us facing the TVs back towards Abner's would not be a situation whatsoever, because most of the customers don't want to be facing the red lights anyway. So that would not be a problem.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments directly for applicant? On the turf, I think that would also be, if we made our way towards a motion of approval, that would also be a condition that I would require. Personally, I would want to see either you come back before us for approval of that material, or possibly work it out with staff.
Okay.
What we want to avoid is AstroTurf. If it's going to be, now some commissioners have strong feelings about turf, period.
Yeah.
And everybody on this commission will make their own mind up and vote their own way. But for me, I would want to avoid AstroTurf, if we can't get pavers. Okay.
There's a picture of the turf that's down at the green, the Harrison Green, the green Harrison's. Yeah. That's the type of turf, and it's more like a traditional field turf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like grass. It looks more like grass. That's the goal. It's for it to feel like you're sitting outside on a corner, not needing to park a car. Obviously, outdoor green space, and go from there.
Okay. All right. So at this point, we're going to ask applicant to sit down. We're going to open it up to public to come up and speak. I feel like we're kind of rehashing. We're probably going to rehash some more. Go ahead, Ben. You had something to say? No? Okay. So one thing we and every commission is the same way. Every chair of every commission has the same spiel. I don't want to silence anyone. Please come up, speak your mind, say what you have to say. If we get to the point where we start hearing the exact same thing over and over again from each person, I will maybe gently prod you all to give us something new. Maybe before the next person comes up, ask them if they have something new that we haven't already heard. Try and keep it brief. Everybody wants to speak. We want to hear from everyone, so please try and stay on point. And when you come up, please state your name, address for the record, and speak into the microphone.
Yeah, I just wanted to state for the record, we did receive several emails.
Thank you, yeah.
And we made them a part of the record. They're actually listed on the agenda as a separate public comment, but everybody received the same emails.
Yes, and we did receive them. We've all read them, and it is all taken into consideration, absolutely. So are there any members that want to come up and speak of the public? Please come on up to the microphone.
I'm Larry Wells. I live at 510 South Lamar. Been fighting the noise there for 50 years. I've lived there 50 years. Sorry. I just want to quickly and briefly reiterate Amanda's point about noise potential. That stage looks ominous to me as a person who, as a resident of the area, the neighborhood. I would respectfully ask, I mean, the outdoor restaurant there is okay. It's not a great idea to me personally, but I can see why they can't afford to put a roof over to build a building there. But the Chancellor House, I'll give you an example quickly. The Chancellor House would have wedding parties on that patio. And the noise, they were just playing music with a speaker, but it would rattle our windows, literally. And I would respectfully ask that they be denied, the Velvet Ditch be denied microphones and amplifiers, anything that would make music levels really loud. I mean, because they can turn them up, and they would like to compete with what's going on the square and draw people down there. I can see bands playing there. He mentioned acoustic guitars to start with, but that's not going to be. We all know what the competition is up there for the restaurants. So that's my, and I'm speaking for other people in the neighborhood who have mentioned this to me, who are concerned about the noise level. So that's my case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Justin Crockett. I live at 809 Lincoln. And I, too, am a big customer of the Land Shark out on the west side of town, and I think it's very appropriate in the locations that they have, and it's very nice out there. And I've actually somewhat liked this design to a certain extent. The thing that really concerns me is I've looked at all the details, and it's a small detail, but there's 14 bathrooms in this place. And I know you're probably like, why is he going down the bathroom route? I don't know about you, but I eat out a lot, and I don't know about eating out with 300 of my best friends and have 300 bathrooms. There's probably not one restaurant on the square that has more than 6. And so that kind of tells me that this thing is going to become bigger than what's being presented here. And it's going to become, you know, something maybe that is not exposed necessarily. So I think this place would be great, and because you're not tasked with noise, you're not tasked with any of the other stuff. You're tasked with the aesthetics, and I couldn't read in the back A through L, but I heard you say rhythm, and that's the thing I kind of zeroed in on. Having lived here most of my life, grew up here, that's the first thing you see when you come in the square, right? Like you're rolling into the square, and the first thing you see is AstroTurf or the second building that they're going to present if they can get to that point. And that's your first impression of Oxford. Or if you come from the north side, your first impression is some of the buildings that look just like the rest of the square. I just couldn't imagine having anything like this anywhere else in the square, and especially the complimentary review that we're going to review momentarily with all the corrugated tin cans and things of that nature. It just doesn't look like Oxford. It looks more like a Tupelo or a Corinth. No offense to anybody if they're from there, but that's what that looks like. Oxford is unique, and that's the reason people come here. And I think if we have this as one of our grounding anchors as you roll in, to have AstroTurf and cabanas that don't even resemble the flow of the square. To me, it really affects the rhythm. So I just wanted to share that with the board.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that want to speak? Come on up to the microphone, please.
I'm 84 years old, and me look like Biden walking up here. I may lose my train of thought. My name is Don Newcomb. I live on South Lamar. And when I first heard about this project, I wondered what's happened to the standard of excellence in the planning and development of Oxford. And I usually don't come before meetings like this, but I'm here out of respect for a dear friend of mine, which maybe y'all don't know, Howard Duvall. He was a lifelong Oxonian. And if he saw this going up in Oxford, he's out there in the grave rolling over right now. But this is University Avenue, the entrance to the Ole Miss, which is a premier university in the South. It's the cultural center of the state. It exudes excellence. And we have people from all over the world come to Oxford every year. And we have hundreds of thousands of people that visit during the school year. I'm glad they're here, but I'm also glad when they leave. But when those people go back, you know what they're going to remember about Oxford and Ole Miss? So, you know, when you turn down University Avenue, the entrance to the university, the first thing you see is a food truck and a bar and a building that's nothing but a big potty and palm trees in Oxford, Mississippi. In my opinion, y'all are obligated to preserve the quality and the historic integrity of Oxford. And if you let this program, and not to compromise with people in business, I'm a business person myself and I like everyone to succeed, but there's a place for this business and it's not on University Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Nope. Okay.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna kick it to the commission for any other discussion. Okay. Any other discussion, and see if we can work our way towards a motion. Go ahead.
I think that I appreciate how you'll do you are so, you will agreeable. And what if you move the cabanas in and you move the umbrellas out to where the cabanas aren't, I'm gonna say this is not my idea, but I'm proud to know that. But you moved the cabanas in and you brought the umbrellas out to where I think that would be more appealing.
Okay.
I don't know, what do y'all think?
I agree.
You like the cabanas closer to the building?
Well, I think the cabanas, if you're driving in the square, I think if you see the cabanas, that is what is so, I think that people are finding, that's the first thing offensive.
That's fair.
Offensive,
I'll say this for, for 4 months, hopefully everybody in here is spiritual and confident in what God's going to do with the weather, because that's what my life is leaning on. It's no rain on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm praying that we don't get rain for 4 months. The cabanas aren't a deal breaker when it comes down to what we're doing here. If the cabanas are not the option, the safety of the customer walking up those sidewalks would then be my concern on windy days. The only reason the cabanas as well are also an asset on the edge was for what you were talking about the TVs not being so visual for the road, because if the cabanas don't hold the capacity of the people that are sitting, then the TVs are now actually closer to the fence line, which is fine if that's something else you guys wanted to approve, but without the TVs and the outdoor space, that would be the issue. And by the way, everybody that spoke, I respect everything you said. Noise, I wouldn't want to be going to bed at night having my windows rattled. And in Oxford, Mississippi, you want that corner to be something that people see it and they say, wow, not say, whoa. So I completely agree with the last man that spoke here. I will say that for the past 9 months, it's looked like somebody can't afford to rent Abner's in Oxford. So it's been an empty building that hasn't been a present site to the corner of the square for the past 9 months. But to the overall cabanas, that's not a deal breaker for me. The cabanas, we've positioned them on everything. Sam tried for hours, days actually, trying to figure out what flows the best for us to be able to fit all those guidelines and the safety of the customers. The only reason we had the cabanas on the edge was because of that. Also, guys, the reason we had the cabanas on the edge, right now you see the back of the cabana, it's clear. With the second ones I sent you, it's actually a wall. If you look, those have curtains. So we're able to shut all those cabanas from the back. So now the actual TVs are not seen when the cars are sitting at red lights. Those cabanas block the view inside to the property. That's the reason the second cabana was presented and I was willing to spend the extra money on it, was to be able to shut the vibe off to where the whole entire vibe was a wall. Those cabanas, we were gonna touch them. So instead of 2 apart, it was gonna be, 2 cabanas touching. So now that actually makes it where whenever that curtain shut, that red is going to be a velvet curtain, by the way, red velvet curtain. So if say that curtain was technically shut, if it was at night, it would block the TVs. If you want it open, we can leave it open, but that gave us the option. If you guys said, Jared, we don't want anybody to be able to see those TVs on this property from the red lights, that was one reason we also presented the nicer cabanas for you.
Is this something, I think there've been a lot of ideas thrown out. Is this something that we table and they come back to us with?
It's becoming tough with all of the different moving parts.
Well, we didn't want to force you guys to tell us, because y'all showed concerns about the cabanas. For us, we can remove the cabanas and you would have all the tables and tents out there just like Funky's, St. Leo's, or actually across the street, Oliver. Oliver has the if you don't want the cabanas and you want to remove, that's fine. But if we didn't bring you a second cabana option with your first complaint, then we weren't doing our job, because you guys did complain about the cabanas.
Understood. I mean, it would be something, and I would appreciate staff, and we even have Paul here as well. It would be something that we could, if there was a motion to approve, that motion could say one of the conditions we want to put on it would be no cabanas and only tables with umbrellas, or this cabana. We could possibly do that. For me, I feel like it would be either no cabanas or what we're being proposed here is what we could approve. Otherwise, it would be tabled and come back.
I feel like we would be redesigning it.
That's right. We don't want to design it here.
Yeah.
That's right. We want to avoid that. And I'll speak on my opinion here. Again, I'm just one member of a commission. My opinion is velvet curtains closing off a wall is moving in the wrong direction.
That's fine. If the second cabana that you see right there is not what you liked, and that's why it's on a piece of paper, not in the picture, is because for us it was like, hey, would you prefer something that shuts it off?
Yeah.
Because if not, then great for us.
Understood. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? I have a few points I want to touch on, but I want to let other commissioners speak up if they want to. All right, we'll see if I can get the conversation going here. I was gonna.
Sorry.
Yeah, please. No, go.
If we put a condition on the temporary, are we allowed to say, like, just for an example, we can have a cabana up for 4 months until December 15th?
Can we place a time limit on it? What?
That's why Paul's here.
Is that what I mean?
You're here to protect us.
Not saying, I'm just asking a question.
It's a good question.
So it's a good question. It's a bigger question, I think it is. Okay, so we've had some of this discussion behind the scenes with staff and trying to figure out, obviously, in the applicant's mind, well, I won't say obviously because I don't want to put words in it. my understanding is that there is a plan for them to be ready to have their business operational at this site in very short order, right? They can't construct the entire building to be open for this home football season. And so with respect to their business model, there is a more temporary plan that they think they can pull off by the start of the football season. And as I think they've said, there's a more permanent plan that involves, you know, the football season being over and them starting more substantial construction. That is the second plan that y'all have on your agenda. We don't have a mechanism in the historic preservation ordinance for a temporary COA that we will agree with you that this is appropriate for X period of time, and after that's done, it is no longer. Now, I'll give you an example. Under our building codes, we have provisions for a temporary certificate of occupancy, and that's where, say, you're building a house, you're building an apartment complex, and we know that there is a certain something, whether it be, you know, you're gonna have to put in some landscaping, but it's not the right season for the landscaping or what have you. And so our building department can give a temporary CO because the building code allows them to do that. And then once those other conditions are met, the builder comes back and says, here, I've done everything. I was on my way towards this finished project. I've now finished the final steps in that. So I need my permanent CO. With the threat being held over the developer's head, if you don't come back and make this building code compliant, we will pull your CO at some point, and the consequence is that until you make it compliant, you won't be able to have people occupying that building. That's a pretty big hang over the head, and so we don't do that for really big picture items. And we don't tell somebody, you know, we're gonna give you a temporary CO when you come back with the roof on. We'll give you your permanent CO. It's literally stuff like, you know, we've got some seasonal things that, you know, that have to be done that we know you are going to do because it's necessary to your project, or it would be very obvious to us that these things are not done. Part of the way that Stuart was presenting this to y'all earlier was that from our perspective, our being the city and y'all's charge right now, I think you need to look at it as an applicant, as two proposals for permanent placement, right? Because we don't have a mechanism that says at the end of December, he must pull out the turf, and he must pull out the cabanas, and he has to get construction started. That's his plan. You know, I think everybody's taking him at his word that that's what he wants to do. But it makes a lot more sense for y'all to be considering this as two different proposals, one of which we know is going to happen very quickly, one of which is a more aspirational thing that we know they can't do immediately, right? And from my perspective, and this may be the real reason that I'm here, what I don't want to do, I would rather have everything out on the table, everything discussed right now, and not in December or January have my phone ringing with people asking me, why haven't we shut the business down yet? Because the temporary nature of the CO has gone away. You know, if we don't have, and you know, maybe this is something that we want to look at amending the ordinance over, but it's not really a great game plan for y'all to be considering under the design guidelines that y'all are supposed to be looking at. Is this okay on a temporary basis or a permanent basis? The question is this appropriate under the charge that y'all have? And if he comes in with a better project, you know, 4 or 5 months, and everybody thinks it looks great and it gets off the ground, then okay. But the reason that I think the staff has not presented this to you as a request for giving them a temporary CO is because if it's not an appropriate project, this is not an appropriate project, right? I mean, if you don't think that it meets the design guidelines, if you think that there are things about it that prevent it from being okay, that's the answer that y'all need to go ahead and give them without the expectation of y'all, folks who are out here with the mayor and board of aldermen that we're gonna have to figure it out 4 months from now. Right, the time to figure that out is now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Something else I would like to speak on, thank you for that. The roof, guys, if you were to approve us in 2 months, let's just say we went with the structure with the roof situation, well, then we would be doing major construction. The gentleman, I don't see him in the crowd, I forgot his name, I apologize. He addressed, the site, the memory of Oxford. This may be the first time somebody ever sees Oxford. So for us, it was like, wow, we built this building and then now we've got construction and construction and construction all during football season. The safety of the bulldozers pulling on the square, we knew there was no way to get that building and do what we wanted to do. And if we could have, then we would have rushed it and we would have tried to do those things. But for me, this business model and the amount of money that I'm already spending and gonna have to spend without a roof covering 70% of that property, the spring rain in Oxford will put me out of business. It will. I have to put the roof up. But then again, you can't base off of what ifs. So that's why we presented you guys something that we felt, even if permanent for 12 months, would at least still be something that was presentational to Oxford and something that wasn't a sore sight to the eyes. And I do appreciate you guys addressing some of the things that you guys, one, would consider tacky, two, that you want to make changes on, and those things I am standing here. There's nobody I have to ask for permission on how I'm going to make this property move or where it's going to go or what we need to do to it. So if there was something that you guys needed for us to say, hey, Jared, I don't like this idea right now, we need to get rid of those, I would tell you, okay, let's get rid of it, and then we would have more meetings in the future to maybe how we could add more roof space. Because for 120 days, starting August 27th, I have got to make that business model work, or I would have signed a 10-year lease instead of a 1 year. So I do agree with you that I think it has to be something that you say, wow, this works for now, and this would work for the next 2 years that it needs to work. And when it comes to the cabanas, if the cabanas are the holdup and the palm trees are the holdup and the turf are the holdup, then I'm okay with, hopefully you guys approve that we can put this location here and then try to figure out what it is that you guys want me to do to be able to not use turf, not use a palm tree, because there are other options for greenery. I'm open to those things.
Okay.
The only thing that I struggle with here is the time frame of being able to make this work, which obviously it's not your guys' bills to pay and you didn't have to commit to it. I showed respect to Abner and said, you know what, I know I'm getting this building called to do it, and let's make it move. So I went ahead and started paying, and that's where I'm at. And if there's something you want me to change today, we can do it, and Sam's super fast and he can turn it into you, hopefully for another committee approval from Ben and the team here.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion whenever you're there.
All right. Is there any other discussion before we hear that motion? All right, we'll hear a motion.
I'm gonna see if I can put this together best I can. Move that we approve the COA with no cabanas, no palm trees, TVs, artificial turf, and placement of umbrellas and seating are to be approved by staff. Any other approval that's to be submitted or any other revisions regarding the COA is to be approved by staff. So if there's any additional revisions outside of this motion, it comes back to y'all. So again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, could you repeat it?
Yeah, sure. Motion is to approve the COA with no cabanas, no palm trees, and TVs, I'm sorry, excuse me, I missed that.
No TV?
No, strike that, I'm sorry. Can't even read my own writing. Motion to approve COA with no cabanas or palm trees. TVs, artificial turf, and placement of umbrellas are to be approved by the staff, as well as any placement of, chairs or whatever, you'll want to be involved in that. If there are any other alterations to the COA that's written, then it would come back to staff approval as well. So cabanas are out, palm trees are out, TVs, artificial turf, and the placement of umbrellas and seating are all under your purview without having to come back to us.
And the bathroom. Are good, the fencing's good, the bars are good.
I assume that was part of the COA, yes, to clarify, yes.
Okay, so we have the way this procedurally will work, we have a motion. We would need to have a second, and then we can discuss the motion and ask for amendments to it if other commissioners want to get other conditions onto it or amend it in some way. So we have a motion with The conditions being no cabanas at all, so presumably non-branded umbrella seating only, no palm trees, the TVs, the artificial turf, and the umbrella placements are to be approved by staff, and any other modifications you said are to be approved at staff level?
Yes, per their conditions and their original notes.
Okay. So that is our motion. Is there a second for that motion?
Before you take a second, one more clarification. When you say no cabanas, does that include the covering over the bar?
Yes.
It does, thank you.
And real quick, check me on that. Do we need a second before we start asking for modifications, or can we do that right now without a second?
Can I ask?
If you have a motion on the floor, I believe that you need a second.
I can accept a friendly amendment before you take a second.
Stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll accept.
So what would be the condition?
I'm okay with no stage. Let's
Okay,
just
great.
erase it. We got enough negatives on that. Let's just erase the stage. It's no problem. The question that I do have.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let us
I didn't mean
finish.
to speak
Yeah,
out
it's
of
okay.
turn. I apologize.
It's all right. So we have another condition that says no stage. Is there any other, and you would accept that modification?
that, yes.
Any other modifications to it?
Does that include the bathrooms, this part of
That will
this?
include the bathroom structure as shown. And the fence. And the fence.
And the fence.
And a small roof coming off the bathroom structure to cover the bar at that area. It also includes the materiality. If we want to scroll through and see some of the other elevations, if we could, the continuation of the metal panel, the brick, the framed metal panel on South Lamar, really just a continuation of the materiality and the design of the existing Abners. So it includes that. I would ask for the if I'm going to vote for this, I would ask for the TVs, the condition be that all TVs are to face into the site. Locations to be approved by staff. Yes.
That was part of the motion.
That's-
They have guidance over TVs.
Okay, I'm just saying specifically, I want the language to be that
That's
it
no
faces into the site.
Hey, I'll accept that.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I'll accept that as a friendly amendment, yeah.
So we need to go back through the amendments. Do you want to read out what you have, Ben, or you want me to read it again?
So we have a motion to approve the COA as presented with no cabanas or bar covering, no palm trees, no stage, televisions, I'm sorry, that's that. And then relegated to staff approval are the televisions, which are to be interior facing. The turf and the placement of the umbrellas. Any alterations to anything else is relegated to staff.
Okay. So we have a motion. We would need a second to have a vote. And I want to just, to clarify to everybody, if a motion fails, then if a motion to approve fails, then that is equal to denial of application. We have a motion. We will hear a second if there is one. Okay, hearing no second, I'm going to make a second. I second that motion. So now we can have discussion among commissioners. I will actually, you seemed itching to say something. I will let you speak.
So I was really thinking about my employee, right? So we talked about the bar that doesn't need to be covered with the roof. Just wanted to be able to just clarify that with that roof that's not directly over that bar, I'm still able to use, so like St. Leo's, I love what they've done with that tent structure. It's not a tent, but it's like an umbrella structure. I'm sorry, it's like 4 of them. I love that. So I can go in and I'll go use the same company. I'll go talk to them. I'll use the exact same company, the poles they're using. I'll spend the money on those umbrellas. They're nice. You've already clearly approved that or it's worked. But I do need to be able to put that over the bar. I need to be able to just hopefully have approval that my employee doesn't have to be in direct sunlight all day that I'm able to use that same style umbrella that I would be using over my tables, that I can cover the bar with that. That's all I'm asking for. It doesn't have to be a permanent structural roof. I just need to be able to put that up.
Andy, would that be in the spirit of your motion?
It's within the spirit of motion, also comes within their purview of making any additional changes, so I think it's fine.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We're heading towards a vote now, so I think we're done if you want to
No, I'm good. Thank
have
you,
a seat.
guys.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on my process. Again, I'm one member of this commission and one vote. When I go through my points of setback, lot coverage, orientation, scale, proportion, I'm reviewing an addition onto the building, and then I'm reviewing what I would call a quote open corner in planning speak. An open corner, still programmed and used with function and use, not parking. I look at this and say, well, right now we have a poorly designed parking lot and an unused building. To me, I can check off for this proposal. Now y'all stick around for the next one for the complimentary review. I can check off these points and say, I feel like this fits within how I'm supposed to review these personally. Scale, orientation, proportion. And I feel like I can check off that this is better than what we have now, while it is not necessarily ultimately what I would want to see on this corner. That's my opinion.
And just to be clear, if this passes, it will go to planning commission, and planning will have to work out all the details of noise,
Correct.
parking.
So site plan
Correct.
approval is required. There are varying levels of process and procedure based on size that requires a public hearing from the planning commission. So generally, if it's less than 5,000 square feet, it's administrative approval, unless there's a reason that it warrants going to the planning commission. I mean, we've heard an awful lot of consideration here. It's possible that we go to the planning commission, but there is a site plan that would be required.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, I saw some straining to hear. This will go before the planning commission, where things like what I touched on that were not necessarily is in our purview, that's gonna be hashed out. And that's where a lot of that stuff, noise, smell, pedestrian safety, stormwater, all those things will be hashed out at planning commission, and voices would need to be heard there as well. So, any other discussion among commission? Because we're gonna ask for a vote. All right, we have a motion and a second. I will hear all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
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 Okay, motion fails. So the application fails. Where to go from here? You all would talk to staff about it, and we can decide if we want to go on for the complimentary review for the full edition, or if you want to table it. And for that, we would kick it to the applicant. I'm still waiting on them to let us know if they want to move forward with the complimentary. Oh, it's done.
I'm sorry, this is my first time I'm confused. I'm super lost on what else I could have possibly presented for.
Yeah,
Get him on the record.
come on up to the microphone, please.
I'm super lost right now. Really just put my life savings into this. I'm just super confused. I was open to every single thing you guys asked me to do, and I'm lost on what it is that you would want me to do as a man standing here to make this any better than I did on the time frame given, and I don't see where I even threw a single red flag in a single question I was asked. So I'm just super lost on what it is that's going on right now, to be honest with you guys.
Honestly, I'm just worried about the time frame of how long it's going, and we can't put
100%. I think that I can't approve it like this with not knowing 100% that it's gonna end in December or January. I can't approve it without a time frame. And
I can't control the
I
time frame
understand.
created,
I
guys. Like,
understand.
I'm at your
I
submission
understand.
here. Like, I'll do anything. I'm just super confused. I did everything. I've been super patient. I was willing to get rid of anything you didn't like.
It sounds,
You have, and
I
yes.
just paid my, like,
No, now it's not, we're not saying you can't open or any of that by any means.
that's telling me I can't open.
No, I just would like to know,
well, the vote is done. You can't, I mean, what has been said is correct, Tom. Can't open the way that you've shown it here. Now, you can open as a restaurant moving into Abner's and the parking lot like it is now. I
It's
totally,
bankrupt.
hold on.
It's bankrupt,
Let me, I understand the exasperation and the frustration. If I can channel what I've heard from two of the commissioners, their concerns were that that this installation becomes an 8-year installation.
I didn't set your rules, though.
I
I'm following your rules.
I agree.
I'm following your rules, guys. I'm fully committed to this. I've done everything I've been asked to do as a man. My life is, I just moved 6 people from the coast here to run this business with me that I grew up with. I don't have the time frame to miss out on something that's so simple. Anything you asked me to change this, then I was willing to change. If you gave me a law and you said, right now, we're changing the law, you have to have something ready by December. As soon as Ben and the rest of you guys gave me the ability to come back in here and put a roof structure over it or whatever it is you wanted to see, I would be able to do so.
If I could jump in, I think the time frame, and y'all, I'm speaking for you here, y'all come behind me on this. Okay. I think the time frame concern isn't how quick can you be open, it's that a permanent construction that they feel is acceptable doesn't happen. And so what ends up in year 2, year 3, year 8, year 10, I think their concern is that it stays like this.
I would be bankrupt
in perpetuity.
in 12 months, guys. If I don't have if I don't have a roof over it in the spring in Oxford, I'm bankrupt. If I use the 16 parking spots, it only holds 90 people inside. That's why Abner's bankrupt. That's why nobody was able to go into this location and make it profitable. Now instead, it stays empty. It pays 0 taxes on what it needs to. It doesn't become a profitable venture. I signed a 12-month lease. My lease shows you I'm required to make it happen. Because if I don't, I'm out in 12 months no matter what. I signed a 1-year lease for that. I couldn't sign 10 years or I'd lose Landshark. I'd lose everything I have. And the time frame of not being open in 55 days was something so simple. Removing the palm trees, removing the turf, removing the cabanas, just praying to God I don't get rain. I literally could not have presented this any better or more simplified for you guys. And I'm not here to argue the system. If I thought that there was truly something that the system was showing that I was standing against, I could understand. But how do I not get a vote to feed the community, the tax money, the bills? I mean, I'm super confused right now. I just presented the same thing that Funky's and St. Leo's has.
Well, so
Guys,
so Amanda just asked the question, can he not come back to us next meeting with a changed application? And I would kick this to Ben and Paul. How much is a substantial change to be able to come back next month and react to what he has heard here today? And also, commissioners, make sure I channeled what your concerns were properly when you said time frame. So.
I'm not bucking. Like, I'm here. Like, guys, I've already paid. My lease is on the rent. I got to pay the rent no matter what. Sadly, I'm about to spend $12,500 for the next 12 months, whether we're open or not. Landshark's closed. The money that we were using, that's a brand that was supporting this brand. It was a brother-sister brand. I feel like I'm in a nightmare right now. There's no way.
So Ben, if y'all could speak to the question Amanda asked about coming back.
So I think there's a provision that it's you can't come back with a similar request, substantially similar request, for 6 months. So
Hang on.
yeah,
sir.
well, I mean, we're not, I don't want this to be a, no, I just don't, I'm just afraid it's gonna stay up.
Yeah, let's let Ben finish his.
Yeah, I think think it's, it's a bit of semantics, but I think if it's a different proposal than what you're looking at tonight, I think it's a different proposal. So, we heard a motion. If there's a proposal that looks similar to the proposal, if we saw a proposal that was similar to what we heard in the motion, I do believe that that's different than the application that was presented as a COA. I'm looking at you, but again, I think it comes down to, me.
These are the questions I always look to Ben on.
Yeah, that is.
It's the planning director's call.
I think it's different than what was presented for approval tonight.
I also want to touch on other avenues which Ben and Paul can speak to. You had 4 Board of Aldermen in here tonight. You have an appeal that you can appeal our decision to the Board of Aldermen as well. That can happen quickly. You could probably be on the next Board of Aldermen. I'm not pushing for that. The next after that. So that's.
I wasn't here to appeal. I wasn't here to stand.
I understand.
I was here to conform.
It sounds to me, again, I'm speaking for others now, but it sounds to me like the sticking point wasn't what details can you change to make the commission feel good. It sounds to me like the negative votes were something that you really can't control, which is your ability to come back and build a permanent installation.
And if it's helpful, I can give more elaboration on that will explain why there is a temporary proposition at all, and which addresses the delay and how long it would take to get this replaced, and the fact that the owner has no incentive not to proceed as fast as possible.
I understand, and so to that point, I would say, let's have what you have to say, and because that's going on the record. If there's an appeal, you want that on the record, and that's going to be spoken at an appeal as well. Those are important points for you to.
How soon is this appeal? Because y'all are talking $12,500 in rent that I got to pay again.
It'd be next week, would it not, Ben?
I'm paying. I love you guys. Y'all all doing your job. I'm here to conform. I didn't present something that I even considered to be shut down. I presented the most simple model that in 4 months, I'm going to go back in and build something that Oxford supports. We didn't even get to the second building of what we came in the first time for. We presented this second option so that it could be approved as a temporary, because there's a gray area, sadly, in Oxford that you guys don't have complete control over temporary, which then puts you in a position that you approve something that you only thought was going to last for 4 to 6 months, that then turns into multiple years of things. And I didn't write that law. I'm not even trying to support that law. I'm trying to make sure that I am only here for long term, that it's 20 years. But business-wise, dear God, guys, I'm paying $12,500. May not have anything to do with you, but you're talking $100,000. And you're talking pushing this off for the football season that we're about to have. I'm super lost on how something so simple is a problem. I don't even know. I trust God in the process, but I'm out right now, honestly.
So you can make an appeal to the Board of Aldermen, and that can happen as quickly as their next meeting.
But then I'm standing against the people in the community that help build the city. I'm not standing against the no's. That is important to me. Yeah, it is important to me. It's important to me.
This is a process.
That's why I came to you guys.
This is a process with committed citizens doing the best they know how to do.
Yeah, that's right.
And that doesn't mean that everybody gets it right every time. So, I think our next step is to embrace the process that is before you.
So then I'm appealing it, and what does that process look like to you guys? I'm now appealing something against people that are paid. You guys are paid to be here, from what I understand.
We are not. That would be lovely, but we are not. We are not paid.
Their skin is as thick as mine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I hope you guys see that
We did.
I'm trying, and I don't know what y'all want me to do here. I'm on a time frame here. I'm trying to make it work. I literally just brought somebody up to replace me at Land Sharks.
Let me make this suggestion. when you make an appeal to the Board of Aldermen, you're going to get new ears, new faces, new different thoughts than perhaps what we have. To a certain degree, they'll honor what the ordinance says, and they'll honor to a certain degree what has been ruled on today. But as Tom said, that's the process. And so that's your next step to go through. And perhaps with those new faces, new ears, you might be able to convince them that what we did today was wrong. And
You got
they
very
approve.
close with some people who weren't here.
Right. It's a new day for you.
And we're not gonna be there chanting against you. It's your own process. Our job is done now, so.
Okay, so thank you. So this appeal process, I appeal it, and like how long something like this take? You're gonna handle
I
this?
think you'll know that night.
And Tom, I wonder how many appeals you've been through. I think Tom is there to shepherd you through it very, very well.
I've never been,
Oh, really?
I've never appealed.
Well,
So,
so complimentary review, is there?
Dan, could I ask you, would it be better for him to go to the appeal or to put a new COA like we talked about? He could possibly change some things to come back to us. Which one would be better?
I wait 6 months, I'm bankrupt. I just took it.
Well, just listen.
That you wait 6 months. What it says is it's substantially similar to the request that you had before. So you can't come back with the same request that you presented tonight. Or substantially similar requests. So if you make modifications to the proposal, I think as I suggested earlier, that might be sufficient enough to come back before the commission. We can talk about that. To answer your question, Lee, I think the next step in the process would be the appeal.
Okay.
Because that can happen as quickly as the next board meeting.
When is that?
2 weeks from tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay, but if I appeal, does that appeal, if I win that appeal, does that mean I'm approved the next day to start?
Yes.
I just took a $385,000 loan out on my mom, and I know that's not y'all's problem.
don't overshare.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, listen, we understand.
And truly, this is all on the record. I think Tom's advice is good. I mean, everything is on the record, so. I mean,
Well, I'm still connecting with you guys. You guys support my business, you eat my food. I don't know what else I could offer to you. I was just keeping it up.
no, I'm sure.
I think given where we are, we would like to go ahead with a complimentary review. We're not ready to throw in the towel on this whole thing. And I beg your indulgence that if y'all have got the stamina to continue with me.
It's fine with me. I'm getting well paid.
You're earning your
Might be able to double
running
that.
to that.
There may be different thoughts here.
Okay, I mean, I don't know that we can say no to a complimentary review if they want to move forward. So I guess we'll do that. So we'll move into the complimentary review stage, which is for the permanent installation.
The staff report that was provided, I mean, it's just.
Same thing.
Just provided the feedback that they were here last month, so.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, Tom, if you just want to get right into it, I can pull up the drawings.
Okay, thank you. And I will keep this short. I just want to basically tell you what we have done in response to what we heard last month. And let's see. We have some notes written down somewhere.
Will you just guide me as to what sheet you want to look at?
Yeah, the elevations aren't much use. I think, look at the street side, yeah, that view and the next view. Because these two views are South Lamar, on the top, University Avenue, and the other, South Lamar, looking at the building. And, you know, what we have done is, in contrast to the 4-foot diameter, 12-foot tall water columns that we had in the previous scheme, we have reduced those to 30 inches in diameter by 8 feet tall. We've reduced the lower roof from, let's see, we've reduced the lower roof from 12 feet bearing height, that is bottom of the column to 10.5 feet, and we've also decreased the beam depth by 6 inches. So we've lowered that lower roof by a total of 3 feet. We've lowered the upper roof through dimensional reduction, bearing height reduction, and reduction of the beam depth by 4 feet. So we've brought the scale of that altogether down. We've also wrapped the lower roof around the corner and pulled back the upper roof to bring the scale down of that. And as you walk along the sidewalk adjacent to the building, whether you're on University Avenue or South Lamar, you never see anything above that lower roof, with the exception of if you look inside, you can see the spatial characteristic of that upper roof. You never experience that when you're next to it. You can see it from the street, as this representation indicates. This is actually from the sidewalk across the street, but it's never at a scale that is overwhelming. To answer the question about what is this other tower representation, the photograph of the tower that's there, that represents the finish that I was telling you we wanted to use on these culvert piping, that epoxy paint finish, which that's at a Carillon, which is a monument at the Veterans Cemetery in Kilmichael that we designed. And so the other thing we've done is pulled back another 2.5 feet, since Andy was asking about, you know, the sight lines at the intersection of University Avenue and South Lamar, and we pulled those down. Again, you know, this is an outdoor space. It's covered by canopies. This is, in some ways, I would argue that not every site in the historic district is the same. Now, this one is important because University Avenue and South Lamar is, you know, Oxford's zero corner, with the possible exception of the square itself. But it is a place that each of those four corners was at one time occupied by gas stations. And so I think having an outdoor pavilionized structure that I would argue that this structure is not ugly or low class. It's actually pretty sophisticated and refined, but it is steel. But, you know, if it's not aluminum, that's what all of the gas stations are. So it's a part of that tradition. The wall is stone, and the fence that goes with it is wrought iron there. So it's a combination of those two. The masonry provides a barrier. I thought one of the things that Lee might be talking about in terms of the pedestrian traffic and the vehicular traffic was actually the prospect, the danger that a car might run into that space. And so the masonry wall is a helpful preventative to that. Those are the things that we've addressed. You can go ahead, if you would, Ben, scroll through some of the other shots and the interior shots. That's and this is the inside. I don't know if you can tell without looking at the drawings we showed last month, side by side with these, how much, you know, tighter the scale of this space is. I frankly think it's better. And I think the design has moved in a good direction in response to y'all's comments last month.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Tom, do you want to talk about this image?
He touched on it.
Yeah, I did talk about that. That's the epoxy paint. That's steel that, the dullest part of the steel is up at the top part. You know, that's stainless steel. That portion of it is actually, stainless steel. So the epoxy coat is a very refined finish to put on galvanized steel to keep it from looking like an industrial material, or to keep it looking like an unrefined industrial material.
Okay, commissioners, jump in.
Nothing here.
I do appreciate the shrinking
Yeah,
of the size.
I think it works better. I think it provides a better sense of enclosure when you're in there, and there's still almost as much openness. We did tighten up the space. By tightening up the space between the upper and lower roof, we lose a little ventilation, but we've still got the cellular beams with the holes in them, so there's plenty of void for air to move.
Any other feedback, questions, discussion among commissioners? What we want to avoid is them walking away feeling, if the commission feels otherwise, we don't want either scenario. They walk away feeling, great, they like it, we're gonna come back and get it approved, or walk away going, they hate it, and we felt like it was approvable. So let's speak our minds.
I appreciate the wall, like, so to speak, for safety. I was concerned about that, so it looks like you've covered that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Tom, I'm gonna do a pat on you, I love you, but I won't ever vote to approve that, okay? Just won't.
Appreciate your honesty. It's like, when I didn't mention this last time, when I was in London and went to see the Lloyds of London building that Richard Rogers designed, and it's all stainless steel. The stairs are exposed on the outside, and all of the piping is up there. It's a gorgeous building, and one of the most expensive buildings ever built at that time in modern history. And I took a cab ride over there, and the taxi cab driver said, "Oh yeah, I know exactly where it is. I'll take you there. It looks like a cross between a BP oil refinery and a French pay toilet."
And we studied it in school like it was the greatest thing ever, but
Yeah.
yeah.
If I may ask a question, about the, we spent a good amount of time talking about the manifold stormwater detention system.
Yeah.
And since that time, the Mayor Board of Aldermen did adopt modifications to the stormwater ordinance. And I know last time your position was that you had designed it for worst case scenario based on the current ordinance that was in place.
Well, and I had simply, not being an engineer, I simply scaled it up from a small facility that I did, and
My question more lies to, it's a hypothetical, but I think it's a realistic hypothetical that those, I'm gonna just use your term, manifolds.
Yeah.
Manifolds.
Yeah, they're all joined together.
That's
Yeah.
right. The pipes are, let's just say, based on the ordinance, the capacity necessary is 50%. Would you reduce those pipes in height? Because I also understood from our last conversation that they're also serving a functional purpose though too, where you're utilizing the backsides of them, and I think you could tell that from the interior where they're holding up the TV. So
One of the things I was doing with those elements was to use them as to anchor the TVs against, so that the TVs would be facing inward and not outward, and they would be shielding the TVs from view. And the other thing that I think they do is they give the structure a building-like facade. I mean, there's no, if we removed those altogether, we would have a pavilion that would be standing there on columns with a wall and a fence, but without anything that mediates between the ground and the roof structure to sort of say, yes, I am a building, I have a front, and this is where you address me. This is, so, I think it makes the pavilion look more permanent. It gives it a little heft, and makes it, look like it has walls.
I appreciate that, it feels like a building, and I'll come back to that, but I want to touch on, so Andy expressed strong reservations. Is there detail, is elaboration, is it, and if you want to, I can jump in.
General design at that particular location in Oxford, as we originally articulated when we first saw this, it would look fantastic anywhere other than that corner.
So
when you've got a steel / delta culvert construction going on at four corners, I can't get on board.
Yep. So I would echo that. I mean, the concept, turning a parking lot into a used space, obviously I was for it I'm okay with the concept of it. It's the industrial nature that I also have. And look, I love modern, same thing. I think you take this anywhere else, I think it's an innovative and really, really, really cool design. The industrial nature of it there, not that I want fake New Orleans, contemporary is great. This commission has been supportive of contemporary. It's the industrial nature, I think, for me, that I still have a hard time with. Any other commissioners?
It just seems very massive. I don't know. I agree with what you just said.
I do as well.
It sounds like the commission is supportive of the use, the concept, outdoor space, tables, chairs, open air, everything you got, just not the aesthetic of the design. Come on up, if you would, please.
If you guys are in support of what you just said correctly, I think we all heard it clear. You're in support of outdoor tables, chairs, everything. Harrison's is open. Across the street, Oliver looks exactly of what I just presented you guys in the picture. Literally, Oliver, it looks exactly like what I just presented that you guys turned down. It looks the exact same. There's umbrellas, there's black fence, there's greenery, there's tables, and you guys just turned it down, but Oliver's approved. So if you're in support of that, if you're in support of that, then what's being turned down here? What got turned down in the first one? What's getting turned down now? I'm cool. If you don't want to pass this, you don't like it bulky, but you do like the outdoor, you like the tables, the chairs. What is it that got, if you're in approval of that as a committee, then what got us a no on 60%? I'm so lost. Because right now, I can't even leave here with a plan.
Let me see if I can make this clear.
I want to leave with a plan for you guys.
Let me see if I can make this clear. What they could not get on board with is that the way our ordinance is drawn is that you cannot guarantee and we cannot be guaranteed that it's going to end in December. Okay? And without that guarantee, you've got 3 people or 4 people, probably more, if the entire commission's together, that are not willing to vote yes. Okay? Okay. And that's just the way it is. Okay.
But for example, I hate to compare apples to apples, but Oliver across the street is approved. It's the exact same business model. There's no difference business model. There's a restaurant out inside with eatery outside with umbrellas and a fence. There's no difference in Oliver and myself. And it was approved.
So this comes up a lot. And I understand it. Look, I've been standing there wanting to make comparisons to other projects around town to this commission and others. Well, comes up a lot, but it is true. Every application is considered on its own merits. It's not anything that any applicant wants to hear, but we first of all, it was an almost entirely different commission for the Oliver, and it was a different project.
What about Harrison's?
There are a lot. there are a lot of things about each of those that's different from this.
Harrison's is loud, it's outdoor, it's college kids, it's got literally a parking lot that hasn't been constructed, there's a black fence around it with mesh.
I can help you there. This is the main entrance into the square.
Respectfully, I agree.
Okay, well, that's the difference.
But
The large way is the difference between this project and Harrison.
Okay, and Oliver?
Like you said, there was a different committee, there was a different set of circumstances, okay?
And it's a different project. It's
different
backed by a
project.
hotel, you know, it's an open corner that's backed by a 4-story building. It's a different animal. Now, I'm not saying I would have approved that if they came, we don't need to go down that line of conversation here.
I'm just trying to find a plan. I want to be able to make a plan, because as of now, I'm being told there's no plan. I'm being told there's not even a solution.
That's not, you're not hearing what we said. We told you that you have appeal rights, okay? And your best plan right now,
Okay.
subject to whatever Tom tells you, is to appeal this to the Board of Supervisors.
Deal.
Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, okay.
And then on this
I
complimentary
hate to
review.
stand on that and push, like, I don't mean to be the guy that's trying to appeal what you guys say. I'm
it's
really
all
not.
right.
It's process.
process.
I wave a white flag, like
It's part of the process.
They have thick skin.
Yeah.
I understand, y'all, this isn't your first day to have to deal with this, you know, it's not your first day with somebody having to pay rent to pay the bills. I just am trying to be able to make a plan because I do want support from the city. And if you guys have made Oxford look like this, and you're going to continue to keep Oxford looking the way it is and maintaining this place, which is why you're in this position, I would like support, because this isn't the only business I'm going to be standing in front of you with in the future.
So Andy touched on process for the former case, and this one, I don't think you're hearing right. We have not said no way, go away. We've said the aesthetic of it is objectionable to this commission. It's on an industrial, you know, the industrial design. Tom understands what we're talking about, so it's a different look that it sounds like this commission is going after. The concept, the use, the idea of what you're trying to do here does not sound like it's objectionable to this commission, to me.
Well, can I make a motion to reconsider the vote we had a few minutes ago?
No. Can we?
There's nothing that stops y'all from doing it. We don't have particular rules of order. The Roberts Rules standard is that a member of the majority, make sure I say this right.
Yep.
A member of a person who voted along with the way the motion went of the majority may, on the same day that motion is made, ask for a motion to reconsider. So it would have to be Lee, Amanda, or one of y'all. I believe anybody can second the motion. If that motion passes, then the original motion can be brought back to the table.
Okay, so that would, thank you. I'm happy to be.
It doesn't usually come up.
Never encountered that,
During
yeah.
the same meeting, and so the answer is yes, because once the meeting is adjourned and the action is taken, you don't go back to the next meeting and bring something else
Okay.
back up. But if it is during the same meeting, one of the members of the majority can ask the commission to reconsider.
Thank you for the education on that. I'm glad to know that. Okay, so.
I just looked it up, still.
Okay. You had to educate yourself too. I love it. All right, so there can be a motion not to reverse it, but to reconsider.
May I say something? The wall. You were extremely concerned. My father builds those walls for a living. It meant everything for me to have him build that wall instead of put a fence up. The reason we didn't put the wall up is because we were gonna have to put a roof up in December, and I didn't want to tear the wall down. My dad's got leukemia, he's dying. I wanted to put the wall up for a piece for my family. If the wall is what gets the safety for the customer in the far seat, the wall, he will tell you and Sam will tell you, that wall design was my idea as well with Tom, because I wanted a piece of my father's work on the property. So the wall, the fence could be the least option. The wall, if you want that for safety, by all means, I'll put it in the picture by 12 noon tomorrow with Sam and make it happen.
Okay.
Come on, man.
All right, so it would take a member of the majority, which was the noes, to, it would take a motion from them and a second and a majority vote to reconsider.
Is it a new motion? Or is it a reconsider?
I think the motion is to bring the original motion, so it'd be Andy's motion that was on the table.
Thank you.
right before the vote was taken. So Andy's motion would come back to the table.
I haven't encountered this either, so.
Amazing.
But he's right, it has to be done the same day.
Amazing.
We're making history here.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm about it.
I'm gonna be real honest, I would like to make the motion to go back to the original motion, to reconsider for a vote. Is that
To bring
right
the motion
wording?
back.
To bring the motion back.
Is that a motion? Did you just say that's
That is a motion.
Okay, so I said that was my motion.
All right, so we have a motion to bring the motion that Andy made back for consideration.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Did I hear an aye from everyone? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that motion is now back. We have a motion on the floor with the previous conditions that we all know. If anybody needs me to read it out again, I will. That motion is back for consideration. We would need a second.
Do you want me to reread that motion?
Sure, let's do that.
That's belabor, I'm sorry, just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So, the motion previously was approval of the COA with no cabanas or bar covering, no palm trees, and no stage. Televisions are required to be interior facing, turf umbrellas are to be approved by staff, and any alterations are relegated to staff. But I think that was relegated to staff, so we have problems.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
No. It's your motion.
I was like, wait a second.
It was your motion.
Oh, I
Second.
thought we were talking about the other one, I'm sorry, I phased out.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second from the previous majority, no. I do want to say, I'm a little uncomfortable with this taking place after the entire gallery has left the chambers. I'm not going to change my vote, because my vote was yes before. Me personally, there's some optics there that are a little uncomfortable to me,
I
but.
want their support from the jump too. I understand their concerns. I live next door. It's the same thing. I want their support.
But they also have the same recourse that he would have had as an applicant to appeal that, and
Yeah,
that
they
would,
can appeal.
that would likely be their appeal, that, hey, this happened after we had all left. So them having that recourse, I can get over my discomfort. I just wanted to say that for the record. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You have your approval.
Oh my God.
Thank you very much.
Can I get a card, free
And I got-
food for?
I got the message on it.
I'm sorry.
You did not ask
I
that.
did not
That was
say
a
that.
joke. That was said in jest.
Good luck to you.
Strike.
No, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're doing your job.
Well,
You're doing your job.
it's,
All right. Yeah.
there's a lot that goes, there's a lot.
Oh, I need to know what's going on. Did I do that?
He's not, no, he's just rubbing his eye.
I'm looking forward to the vote.
No, he's saying, you don't say things like, give me.
Hey, so I have a question. Do I have?
Well, the meeting's still going on.
Oh,
So,
Yeah, so have a seat. Clarify that you were joking.
I was joking.
And it's on YouTube.
Previous comment, joking.
Okay,
It's on
I don't
YouTube.
like, yeah, I'm sorry.
okay. All right. Thank you.
No, I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you guys.
Let's go.
Is there a reconsideration of the motion?
The third reconsideration. What about that wall? Moving forward with that real quick.
We're done.
You don't, what about the brick wall?
You've been approved.